No, this is a secret broadcast on behalf of the Critical Twits podcast. This is episode 3, or maybe episode 5, depending on how you want to count it. And we're going to talk about a topic close to our hearts, Skulduggery. I'm Agent B.
I'm Agent A.
And I'm Agent C. And we're coming at you live from a secret location. Throughout the podcast, we'll be leaving clues as to where we really are. The first person to tweet us with our real location will be terminated by the cleanup squad. I mean, win a prize. A lovely, lovely prize. So, Skulduggery. No, not creating past tense holes with some cranial bones, but the art of being dishonest and dodgy as hell. So in order to get us in the mood, I'm going to start off by lying to you. King of Skulduggery and disdainer of political correctness, James Bond, is back soon, and is renowned for his womanising of ladies with ridiculous names. So which of these, Agent A and Agent C, are real Bond girls, and which have I made up?
Oh dear.
Oh, that's why the Bond question got asked yesterday, was it?
Yes, because I didn't want to ask you questions about things that you might actually know about.
Oh, cheers.
Because that would be less fun. You can play along at home. Let us know your score, and we will put it in a spreadsheet and look at it sometimes. Okay, so our first James Bond, or Bond girl. Why Bond girl? Surely Bond woman. Bond girl has unpleasant tones to it.
It's always been...
No, it does have unpleasant tones, but then James Bond himself is probably rather unpleasant by these days.
And an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yes, but it was a simpler time. It was a much horribler time.
Yeah.
Okay, so the very first Bond, is this a real Bond girl or not a real Bond girl? Dr. Christmas Jones. Dr. Christmas Jones.
So, are we going to try and elaborate on what they might do? Because
Dr. Christmas Jones.
Do whatever you like.
I mean, for a start,
if it's crap, we'll cut it out.
I feel a little bit disbelief because, I mean, this is James Bond. A doctor implies intelligence, and James Bond, I don't feel like attempts it with anybody he believes is intelligent.
Oh, anybody.
Because he's a chauvinistic pig.
Okay.
However, there have been doctors.
Yeah.
You don't think they're doctors because you look at the way they dress and they're all in high heels running around shooting guns at people, but they're supposed to be doctors.
Can't the modern day woman have it all? Can't she have high heels, a kicky beret, and a doctorate from Yale?
I think it's more the machine gunning afterwards. It seems a bit weird.
Wasn't there a nuclear...
I'm a particle physicist.
Was it?
It's just weird.
Yeah, wasn't it actually the day after tomorrow had a particle physicist that ran around murdering people? It got a bit weird.
Yeah.
But I think that's false.
Do you agree?
I'm going with false, yeah.
No, that's correct. That is a real character, Dr. Christmas Jones, from The World Is Not Enough, played by the lovely Denise Richards.
Okay, what was she a doctor in? You didn't research that, did you?
No.
Because like all Bond girls, her history doesn't matter.
Success.
That's really mean. That's really bad. I should have done more research for what is meant to be a 2-minute intro to the podcast, which we've already had our 2 minutes. Okay, next one, April Morning. April Morning.
That's true. That sounds true to me.
That sounds like the sort of name some celebrity would give their child.
April Morning, yes.
You're not going to go to a real school, so you don't have to worry about being bullied for this.
There was a slight breeze when one of her 7 fathers, I'm not sure which one it was.
No, that's got to be fake.
I think it's true.
Okay, so you're going for fake?
Fake, yeah.
You think it's true?
We've had Christmas Jones, for God's sake.
Yeah, but they don't interrelate, so it's fine.
Okay, so April Morning is false.
Yeah.
I made that one up. However, there is a May Day in A View to a Kill, played by the also lovely Grace Jones.
This is the Stan Lee way of naming people, isn't it?
I'm not going to have a score.
Well,
so it's 1-0 to Aaron. I was going to compete against you, but you turned on each other.
Yes.
Which is in the spirit of the Skulduggery special.
I think Agent A and Agent B are ganging up on me here. Some kind of conspiracy afoot. Where have you hid the body?
Third one then, Holly Goodhead.
That's true. That's definitely true. That's a Bond girl if ever I heard.
Holly Goodhead.
I don't want this to be true. I just really don't want this to be true. Women can be more than this. Please remember that, Bond writers. I'm saying false because of hope.
I'm saying true.
Back of the net, Colin. Equaliser. Holly Goodhead, real from Moonraker, played by Lois Childs.
Moonraker was ridiculous, so yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
God.
Number 4, Amanda Hug and Kiss. Amanda Hug and Kiss.
That's actually, I think that's true.
I'm going to say true because it's so ridiculous.
Both saying true?
It's
Yeah.
a fake name that you phone up people and mock them with, surely, but...
Yes, it is. I took that from The Simpsons. It's
Hey.
a prank that Bart plays on Mo, not a Bond girl. I've got you 2 lies so far, and I've got you to think that both of them were real. Well, one of
Probably
you
should
think they
watch
were
more
real.
Bond.
Okay, number 5, Plenty O'Toole.
I'm going to say false.
No, this is true. I'm sure I've heard this one before.
Okay.
Or Brian's going to announce it's from a porn film.
Oh God, it is true.
Well done, Aaron. Plenty O'Toole, real, played by Lana Wood in Diamonds Are Forever.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yeah, terrible. Right, last one of the Bond ones. Peaceful Fountains of Desire. Peaceful Fountains of Desire.
I'm gonna.
That's just...
I'm gonna say true.
No. False. It's too complex. There's too many syllables in that for a Bond fan.
True, well done, Colin.
Oh.
Apparently, Die Another Day, played by Rachel Grant. She's a Chinese, I think, spy.
Oh my god, it's racist as well.
And Die Another Day wasn't that long ago. That's the worst one about that. So that's my lifetime, as in,
Yeah, it was Pierce Brosnan style one, wasn't it?
late 90s, I
Oh
think.
God, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was the 90s when racism was more covert, but still acceptable, apparently.
Yeah.
So at the end of round 1, the James Bond round, the score is currently Aaron 2, Colin 2, which also means that I'm going to class myself as having 4 points.
This doesn't seem right.
This isn't a very good game.
Okay,
I might murder him by the end of this
so
podcast.
to bring this to back to the world of gaming, fantasy games especially often have some very, very ridiculous character names. So
Yes.
I'm going to read out some character names. You need to guess whether they're real fantasy characters from gaming or whether I've made them up to deceive you. You might know some of these.
Okay.
Okay. Tara, the Herald of Obliteration. Tara, the Herald of Obliteration.
I think that's true.
I'm going to flick through this big book of baby names, point at it, and then put something horrible at the end. Yeah, go on, it's going to be true.
It is true. Bonus point for telling me where it's from.
Herald of Obliteration.
Tara, the Herald of Obliteration. I think one of the Dragon Age games.
Nope.
No?
No. Dungeon Siege?
Nope. It's actually from one of my favourite games, tabletop skirmish game, Malifaux, which we'll be covering soon.
Oh, yeah, well...
Yeah, Tara, the Herald of Obliteration.
What a title.
Who was the entire inspiration for this piece? Because I looked at her name and went, Tara sounds like I might know her.
Yeah.
I don't know any Heralds of Obliteration. What a silly name.
Or do we?
Okay,
Yeah.
second one. Albumen, Desecrator of Innocence. Albumen, the Desecrator of Innocence.
No, because that's disgusting.
I'm going to say no for that.
Is she a teacher?
Yes, I made up Albumen, the Desecrator. I'm not so good with the fantasy.
It was more you expect the Desecrator of Innocence to be Lord Black, the Desecrator of
Yeah.
Innocence. Something that doesn't sound like a paedophile teacher.
The reason I went with Desecrator of Innocence is that's the name I got when I did the Game of Thrones name generator.
Right.
Which we did at work the other day. The other month, because it was summer and we don't have a lot to do over summer. So that was fun. Okay, number 3. I'm not doing so well in this round. Dendar the Night Serpent. Dendar the Night Serpent.
I'm going to say yes to that.
Yeah.
Why?
Dendar The Night Serpent. It's very fantasy based. That's something you'd expect. The Night
Conan the
Serpent.
Barbarian type.
Yeah, Dendar. Dendar's one of those names that is ridiculous, but you'd find in a fantasy game.
Yes, Dendar the Night Serpent is a god in the Forgotten Realms that eats nightmares.
Ooh.
Well done.
Name doesn't seem quite appropriate now.
Dendar.
Consumer of nightmares.
It
That's
sounds
quite
more
cool.
like a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a better name for it, I think.
Yeah.
Dendar's not someone I'd associate. I'm
Well,
Dendar.
that's
Do you
just-
eat nightmares? That's not no.
Yeah.
Dendar sounds like a bloke that sells shoes in the corner.
Yeah, I don't really associate serpents with eating nightmares either. Causing them, but not eating them.
Maybe Dendar the Night Serpent eats like chocolate dipped nightmares. So just to soften it slightly. Or maybe it's like one of those nightmares that's not really a nightmare, where your teeth fall out, but it's okay. Or you punch someone in the face and they don't do anything about it. So it's not like the horrible nightmare where your family's been killed. You're just like a bit weak and pathetic. No? Does no one else have nightmares like that? Have I revealed
I
too
definitely
much?
have nightmares like that, but I wouldn't necessarily call them nightmares, just bad dreams.
Bad dreams.
But then that'd be a rubbish fantasy name. Dendar, eater of slightly bad dreams.
That sounds like something out of Discworld. Dendar.
Yeah, rather than having the war god, you'd have the kerfuffle god.
There was a god of stuff, so...
Yeah. Okay, number 4 then. Tamarkan, the Maggot Lord. Tamarkan, the Maggot Lord.
Ooh, I'm going to say yes to that.
I'm going to say no, but I feel like you were researching something on Tamagotchis beforehand.
I would play Tamagotchi if there was the Maggot King in there.
Where do you think Tamarkan, the Maggot Lord is from?
Say the name again?
Tamarkan, the Maggot Lord.
Tamarkan. I'm going to say... It's very racist of me, but it sounds almost Arabian.
No, lies. Right. Tamarkan, the Maggot Lord is a real character from Warhammer.
Okay. So probably was looking at a Tamagotchi when they count, right?
It's a giant Warhammer Fantasy Forge World resin model that you can get.
For what race?
Chaos.
Oh,
Maggot
not
Lord.
Arabian at all.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it might be. I mean, the Chaos inherently white in Warhammer. I mean, it's not a piece of racism. Or
Yeah, they're kind of like
but-
multicoloured.
Yeah, I was going
Are we
to say, race
saying-
kind of went away from it, didn't it?
Are we saying that Chaos are the most ethnically diverse of all the races?
Yeah, it's a general rule in fantasy that
The evil guys are
they're
ethnically
actually
diverse.
more welcoming to anybody, whereas the good guys generally tend to be white and male and really boring because of it.
Well, that's only interesting for...
Okay, let's continue with the predominantly white and male podcast. Number 5, Bubalos the Toad Dragon. Bubalos the Toad
I'm
Dragon.
going to
images
say
are horrible.
no to that.
Bubalos
And
the
if
Toad
it is,
Dragon.
there's something wrong with the world.
Yeah, I'm going to say no as well, but I feel like it's something you might use in a future game.
Tamarkan the Maggot Lord rides Bubalos the Toad Dragon in the popular miniatures game Warhammer.
Does it?
Shop, please find new names.
The Toad Dragon.
Yeah.
Toad Dragon.
Well, toads are kind of like reptiles.
Okay,
What sad person would go, we've got a dragon for your birthday, son. It's a toad dragon. That's a parent that didn't love their
Do you
children.
think they just printed up, they like 3D printed the model, and then one of them had a pet toad, and they just put it on top and went, it's a dragon. That's a brilliant idea. Oh, I'm a
I
genius.
think what they do is write down names
No.
of all animals and then put them all in a bag and just draw 2 out and go, so he's riding a buffalo squirrel.
Buffalo Squirrel.
That's actually quite cool.
And
I
Games
like that.
Workshop, don't steal my buffalo squirrels.
Buffalo Squirrels are copyright the Critical Twits podcast 2015. All rights reserved. Your mileage may vary. Okay, so as we move into the final round, Colin is 1 point ahead,
It was a first.
which means you're going to have to answer first, Colin, so you can't just pick the same thing and guarantee yourself victory.
Sudden death.
So, the last one, Mandros the Unforgivable.
Oh, Mandros, the unforgivable. See, Mandros, yes, the unforgivable. You'd expect the unforgiven. I'm going to say
We need some thinking music.
no.
No?
I think it would be the unforgiven, not the unforgivable.
Okay, well, I'm going to go the opposite then, seeing as...
Is that what you would have chosen?
No, I think I would have said false as well, to be honest. There's something
Yeah?
just off about it.
Ah! I didn't manage to catch you then. So I made up Mandros the Unforgivable.
Yeah.
Mostly because I thought that this particular section of the podcast could be referred to as Unforgivable Mandros.
Oh, God.
I want my point. That's his point as well.
Yeah,
Started again
there we
now.
I think we should get extra points each for dealing with that terrible pun.
Yes, thank you very much.
So at that point, without the extra points, because I'm in charge, it's my podcast. It's not, but it's my idea to do this. That's Aaron 6, Colin 7, which means I get 6 points off of Aaron, 5 points off of Colin, 11 to me. I win. The crowd goes wild.
Stabbing noises.
Yes, insert stabbing noises here, Aaron.
So yes, but that idea of silly names leads us very nicely into discussion of our first game, which is the recently released board game Codenames.
Yes.
So I paused there for quite a long time, not for dramatic effect, but because it kind of rhymed and it felt wrong. The board game Codenames. It's quite difficult to say. Yeah. Which I recently picked up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I ordered the last one on Amazon. So anyone who's tried to order it from Amazon UK in the last week and hasn't been able to, that's my fault.
Skulduggerous of you.
Yes, very skullduggerous of me. I planned it that way. I waited until there was only one left. Yes, so Codenames, a board game we've all played. We all played last week.
We did.
Would either of you like to explain what it's about?
Go on then. I'll give it a go. Codenames is a game where you play anywhere from 2 to 8 players.
Just 2 to 8 players, yeah.
Yeah. And you basically play opposing sides of spies.
Yeah.
And you're trying to assassinate people, I believe.
You're trying to find your
Agents.
Your
Find your
agents.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just took it as assassinating people because that sounded more fun.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
you
know.
have to murder a whole bunch of people. Yeah.
Yeah, murdering's fun.
I would yeah,
Edit that.
yeah,
Been
so
the basis of the entire computer games industry for the last 25 years.
That's a good point.
Kill this guy. Have some experience. You've learned something. Now you can get 10% off in shops. Maybe not the most realistic medium. I haven't dared try.
Sorry, breathe for a moment, corpsing slightly. Yeah, okay, so you play 2 opposing sides of spies who are trying to find the rest of your team. One of you knows the code names of your spies and are trying to get that across via one word to the opposite side of the table without basically revealing it to the other group of spies. So you've got a grid. I'm not sure how big it is because I can't remember.
It's 5 by 5. Jinx.
How skulldugger or something.
You're not allowed to speak.
An entertaining podcast. Yeah, 5 by 5 grid of everyday words, and those who are trying to call out the code names have a little grid that kind of looks like a minesweeper grid that shows you where your spies are located, where your opposing spies are located, who are in spy standards, and an assassin.
Yes.
Your objective is to find all your spies before the others do, without finding the assassin.
Yeah.
You do this by looking at the words, finding hopefully a link between them, and calling out something that links that word. So if you've got elephant, if you've got trunk and horns on the board, you might say elephant and then 2 because you've seen 2 cards that relate to that.
Yes.
And then the person on the other side of the board has to try and guess which ones you mean.
Yes, and they have to point them out, and then without the clue giver giving anything away, so they can't go. Or this is a particularly tricky one. They just have
Which
to.
is more difficult than it sounds.
Yes.
Yeah. You have to maintain your poker face, poker face, and not give anything away, and then you just cover it. Now, if you're looking for multiple and you get them all right, you can keep putting down your colour.
Yeah.
However, at any point, if you get it wrong, if you pick an innocent bystander, they get sort of a grey card that just goes over that and covers it up. If you pick one of the opponent's ones, then they get that one added to their side. That could become to their colour, and then it's the other team's go. So you might say potatoes 7, and they get the very first one wrong, and then
That's
we'll
it,
get to
game
that.
over.
yes. If they get the assassin, it'd be game over, or they could pass one off to the other team, and off they go. What I really like about this, because that might sound slightly dry, is the sheer frustration of trying to communicate with your friends in only one-word chunks.
Yep.
Yes.
Which is can be absolutely hilarious as they get completely the wrong end of the stick.
Yeah.
If you've got teams of multiple people on your team and you're giving the clues and they start discussing it, because everyone's brains associate things differently, that can be even more infuriating.
Yeah, I mean, we played this with my wife and Connors of Arthur at one point.
Yeah.
And I watched my wife Laura basically curl up into a ball as the clue for one card that she'd announced. Brian and Colin basically went through the entire board and went, well, this could link to that, but then that could link to it, and then this could link to it. You could watch her getting really elated as they found the right one, and then disappointed when they'll find the wrong ones, and then horrified as they found the assassin. And they went around the board about 2-3 times until she was screaming or throwing something at you. Shut up and just pick one!
Yes, there is a sand timer included as an optional thing to flip the thing over. There are some slightly more complex rules about what kind of clues you can give and what kind of clues you can't and things like that, but they didn't really come up because everyone just kind of instinctively followed them when we played. And a lot of the people, we've played this with at least 3 people who aren't regular gamers.
Yeah.
And then someone who's kind of more of a casual gamer than we are. And they've all got it straight away. They've got the game straight away. We've had loads of fun playing it. Especially, it can get quite competitive.
Extremely.
Yes.
I would say, I definitely say for anybody who's still not convinced that this sounds like a good game, when I first played it, we played the first game, all 5 of us playing it went, meh, it's not bad. But the moment you play the second game, you go, this is awesome. And then you play the third game and go, this is still awesome. And it's remained awesome ever since. It's the first game you go, it's more complicated than it sounds. And I think in mine, I pulled the assassin out immediately twice in a row. Losing both games on my very first words. But once you get into your second game, you start going, actually, this is a lot of fun.
It's one of those games that just takes a moment to click.
Yes.
And once it clicks and you realise what it's asking you to do, you realise quite how clever it is and how cleverly it's put together. Because you're not only trying to give clues for your own words, you're also trying to avoid the other team's words. Definitely avoid the assassin, and beat the other team at the same time. So you're making very tenuous links in an effort to try and leapfrog them or keep up with them or to win the game before they have a chance.
And the words you've got to choose from on the actual board are very ambiguous. A lot of them are interlinked with each other, and
they go from city names through mystical beasts like phoenixes and unicorns. There was ninjas, and there were just some very basic normal words like
car,
plane, car, cat, cake. But other letters are available.
We're describing, and it sounds like those words are really easy to link together, except the board you get given, you'll be lucky if any of those matching words touch each other.
But they do though. You can once you get into it, you start looking for the leaps of logic that you need. One of the good things we did is we rotated the person who was giving the clues every game or two,
because that's really stressful, surprisingly.
It is trying to
well, it's you're trying to think of links for yourself, and then you've got to try and think of links that they would get while not picking the other people's cars. It's like at one point I said dog, and I actually found 3: spot, yard, I think, and I put police,
I like a police dog. Yeah,
police dog,
yeah.
but Aaron didn't get police, and I was sitting there wetting myself, going, "Oh God, I've just seen something else on the board that could be linked to dog." Pound,
Yeah.
which luckily, when I looked at the clues, I went, "Oh yeah, that's mine anyway." But I was slightly concerned, going, "You can put links in places that you wouldn't expect your team to."
Yeah.
Yes, I looked at the board at one point and had England and Germany.
Yep.
So I said World War, and then realised that America was the assassin card, and spent the entire thing as the rest of that round as my two teammates were debating and flicking between the three countries with my toes curled up, going, "Please don't pick the wrong one." And luckily, they decided that they were the main people in the war. They were there for more of it, because America turns up late, being tardy in their own vernacular. So I kind of got away with that, and I'm going, "Oh, please don't pick the wrong one. Please don't pick the wrong one." And it's that sort of moment of tension, that moment of when the other team, when the rest of your teammates pick completely the wrong thing, and they've made a link that you didn't even think of. It's great. It's great. You get to know people. You get to know how their brains work, how they think about things. The links they make quite interesting. We mixed the teams up a lot as we went as well.
That really worked well.
Yeah.
So we all played with everyone else. At different points. So it wasn't just like, because obviously if your wife's playing, Aaron, and we don't want to play against you two because you've got so many in jokes and similar things.
Yeah, exactly.
That you might be able to sort of
Not
whip
me
us.
and my missus, surprisingly.
No,
we were rubbish together.
She gave some really good clues. It's down on you, Colin.
Yeah, the other thing is as well, if you're a smart player, you listen to the other team's clues because you can work out which aren't your words.
Yeah.
That way, even if the other team don't quite get it. So you can start, or what you can also do is you get an extra guess in each turn. So if they say potato 3, you actually get 4 guesses. So if you failed to find a clue in the previous round, you can use your extra go and go, well, I think it must be that one.
Yeah.
But what you don't know is, what if potato was actually a link to both of them, and then you're just picking something at random?
I noticed that was where a lot of the tenuous links started coming in. Because you'd already covered it over, so you were looking for stuff that had already disappeared, and so we're making links with things that weren't there and making me weep inside.
Yes.
There were some very tenuous links going on.
It's kind of like Team Minesweeper with words. You want to do that Minesweeper grid, in that you're trying to point them in the right direction and avoid the pitfalls, avoid the different traps. I had a great time playing it. I really enjoyed.
I'd quite happily play it again.
It's a really nicely designed little thing as well. Each of the cards is double-sided. It does take a small amount of time to set up a 5x5 grid of cards.
Yeah.
But the cards, they've got the words written both ways up, so people on opposite sides of the table can see.
I'd like to confess I didn't notice that for about an hour.
Well done.
I was sitting there leaning over the other side of the table.
Looking like you were cheating.
Yeah, looking like I was cheating, trying to read the words, and actually the words are printed the other way as well.
But one side is grey. One side's like a name tag, and the other side is grey, so it is a little bit harder to see.
Yeah, but I do colours for a living.
That's a good point. Yeah, you are an artist, a graphic designer, who drew our lovely cartoon that you can see. We haven't talked about it up until now because we've only actually just started releasing things. We had a bit of a backlog. Mostly because none of us, apart from Aaron, can do technical things.
That's entirely true.
So
and I'm incredibly slow at it.
We just leave it all up to you. We're absolutely no use whatsoever. So yes, that's our fault, really. Don't blame Aaron. But yes, Colin drew the lovely and rather slightly offensive cartoon.
Well, of course,
because my beard doesn't look like that.
Yes,
I'm not that bald.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you have a giant forehead.
I do actually have a
In
giant
the cartoon as well, yeah. And other jokes.
I'm trying to think of who should be the most offended. Brian's got a very shifty look and a patchy beard. Aaron looks like a fat Klingon.
Yeah.
But his cartoon does as well. So I just did the same joke twice, didn't I, essentially. Sorry, Aaron.
I'd say for that comment, Aaron should be the most offended.
By me, not by you.
Of course.
Just remember who's got all the blackmail material.
Yeah.
Good point.
But yeah, Codenames. Really enjoyed it. Great, really simple, very easy to play game. The theming is very light. Everything works really well. So the cards, you've got a word facing one way, a word facing the other. So you can have your clue givers on one side of the table sharing the little grid. And then you can flip the cards over. They're all double-sided.
Yep.
So you've got 200 cards, but actually 400 words. So you can flip them over, which means you don't have to set them all up again, which is quite nice.
The grids for the code names are, because they're 5x5, they can be flipped round, so they give different answers and possibilities as well, leading to hundreds, thousands of game possibilities.
I was going to try and do some maths. With an S,
that was
American listeners, because that's what it is. Mathematics, multiple. Entirely irrelevant, pedantic rant. Yes, the chances of two gaming groups playing the same game must be astronomical.
Oh yeah, I mean, what are there?
You've got
400?
25 words out of 400.
Yeah,
and you've got about 30 of these little grids that can go in four different
each.
4 ways up.
Yeah,
that's mad. The possibilities are enormous.
It's not going to get repetitive.
Yeah, I mean the actual gameplay itself would in time, but actually it's the kind of thing that I wouldn't expect you to sit down and play for 4 hours.
No,
although we did.
We did.
Much,
yeah.
As a first go, but we played it again at weekend just gone for.
It's
half an hour,
yeah,
and 2 new players picked it up and enjoyed it in that time.
Yeah,
it's definitely a good party game. As well. Something I very expect families to play, or you've got some friends over for a few drinks if you have any friends or drinks.
One day, Colin.
One day.
Glorious day.
And would be very entertaining, actually. I think, yes, definitely with a couple of drinks in you, it'd probably be the most fun
the
you'd
links
ever
would
have.
get really, really tenuous at that point. That'd be amazing.
If you'd like to apply to be Colin's friend, then please tweet a picture of yourself to the Critical Twits Twitter account, holding the drink that you would bring. And he will judge you by the quality of the beverage that you may potentially provide. So, I heartily recommend, especially as you say, it's maybe more casual, it's easier to get into, more of a family game, but still we really enjoyed it, and we're all late 20s and early 30 something people who
have no friends.
Have no friends, apparently. Yes.
I'll say, Laura's asked on a couple of occasions whether that will be coming over on future gaming things, because it's something she wanted to play again, because she liked it that much.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd quite happily play it again.
Yes.
In fact, let's abandon the podcast, turn this off, we'll go play games.
Just record us playing it.
Yeah.
I left it in your car.
Skulduggery.
Skulduggery. In the other car. Aaron has multiple cars.
Multiple cars and a wife. Now, listeners, is he lying?
Oh, yeah. I'd like to pretend I was lying now because I feel excessively middle class.
You haven't seen these cars, to be honest.
We're a British podcast. We can discuss the class system endlessly.
Yeah.
That's because we're at the bottom end of it, so it's fine. We can discuss what we want.
Yes, we're looking up. We know my place.
Yeah. No, it's really good. But 2-player was the only thing.
Yeah, just the one thing. There is a. It says 2 to 8 players. I did try just to try out the rules. I roped my other half into playing with me in the game, and it's done cooperatively. So I was giving the clues, she was picking the words, and then at the end of each round, I would have to cover up one of the other team's colours, one of their words, and it was dull. We played it twice.
That sounds
and
she was
bored, but she played it on Saturday with us, and she enjoyed it. She said, she said it was fine. She said she liked it. She said she'd play it again, which rarely happens, to be honest.
That sounds like trying to play Monopoly 2-player.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you might enjoy that.
But you might be a lot more fun than we are, we?
Yeah.
We are a miserable bunch at heart.
Wow, really bummed us out. That's great. Keep it light, keep it frothy, they say. Podcasting 101.
Or maybe I'm just lying.
Agent C's secret weapon, depression.
Exactly.
Yes, his misery bombs.
Untraceable.
Untraceable misery bombs. That could be a Bond girl.
Untraceable, yes.
Peaceful Fountains of Desire's partner, Untraceable Misery Bombs. Because someone mistranslated the name.
I like it.
On that mildly racist note. We've also... Boardgames do skullduggery, lying, cheating, stealing much better, I think, than a lot of other formats. When we were
face to face with a person.
Yes. It's quite difficult to lie to someone within the confines of a game, a video game, for instance. Role-playing games are different. We'll come to those in a second. But we mentioned Dead of Winter and my history of betrayal.
Yeah.
We've also been playing. Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yes.
Which is a cheese smuggling simulator. That's how I like to think of it.
It is. Yes, that's.
Everybody just ended up squabbling over the cheese.
I did not. I went for bread because we were oversaturating the market.
Well, yeah, you can't have cheese without bread.
Yeah, what type of animals do they think we are?
Yeah.
Just eat blocks of cheese.
Yes. So, Sheriff of Nottingham, essentially you play merchants trying to get goods into Nottingham. Each turn a different player gets to be the sheriff. And it's the sheriff's job to inspect the goods of each of the other players and determine whether they are, like being in customs, declaring legally what they're bringing in, or whether they're trying to smuggle in contraband, which is very valuable. There is some. I smuggled in some particularly ripe and stinky cheese.
Yes,
that counted as 3 pieces of cheese all on its own.
That is true. I hid crossbows in my cheese.
Yes, and the system is that you put cards in a lovely velour sack. It's very fuzzy.
Yeah, you spend most of the game fondling that.
Yes, you just spent most of the game fondling your sack, Aaron.
That doesn't help with the late 20s, early 30s, all a miserable bunch as we sit there stroking velvet sack.
So yes, you put you go shopping, you draw cards, and then you can swap them out via a sort of shopping system and a weird system of sort of multiple discard decks that you can take from and go shopping, or you can draw blind. You end up with sort of a hand, and you might have in your hand you might have some combination of bread, apples, cheese and chickens, which are all legal.
Yep.
You might have found spices, silk, crossbows, or really, really nice versions of bread, cheese, chickens and such, right, that are also illegal. The trick is you can put up to 5 cards in the sack.
Yeah.
But you have to only declare one type of good. So you can only say one type of legal good. So you walk up to the sheriff, you have to hand them a sack and look them in the eye. The game's quite clear on that, which I think makes the game.
Yes, definitely. Having your friends look you in the face while they're lying to you.
Yes. Yeah. So I would look and I'd go, right, I've got 3 cheese and 2 crossbows that I want to get in. So I would put those in, I'd clip it shut, and I would go, good day, Sheriff. Here are my 5 cheese. Sheriff takes it, goes round, gets everyone's declaration, and then interrogates each of the players to try and work out if they're lying, if they're not lying. Yeah. Now, the sheriff can be bribed.
Yes.
Yeah. You can bribe the sheriff to give you things back. You can offer them some of your goods. So you could say, I will give you one of my 5 cheese if you let this pass, good sir. Obviously, if there's no cheese in there at all, then you've really, really pulled the wool over their eyes, and you really get away with that.
But you will find they're gunning for you for the rest of the game.
Yeah, they'll be very, very unhappy. You might put a little bribe through just to bring it forward. You might not offer a bribe in the hope that they will open it. Because if you are not lying, then the poor sheriff has to pay you a fine.
Yes.
To make up for wasting your time and making you look bad, some kind of libel fee, compensation system.
That was my very first game. That's all I did.
Have you been accused of illegally smuggling crossbows? If so, call our hotline now. Medieval PPI on pigeons. It's one of those cheese pigeons again. Go away. However, if you are, as the sheriff, you do find some illegal contraband, or they've put 3 cheese and 2 bread and said there were 5 cheese, then the illegal things are discarded and the naughty smuggler has to pay you a fine.
Yes.
At the end of the game, you total up the value of everything that you've got, and the contraband is worth a lot more than legal goods, so it's always tempting to try and slip some contraband in there.
Yeah.
Add all that together. You also add that to the person with the most of each of the legal goods gets a bonus. So it might be worth your while focusing on apples, for instance, because you get a nice juicy bonus.
Yeah.
Juicy bonus apples. And the person who's made the most money wins. So even when you're bribing the sheriff, you're actually, as the sheriff, you take that, you're helping yourself win.
Yeah.
Because you're basically giving away your points.
But if they've got contraband in their bags and they give you 2 gold to let it go through, and finding them you'd get a lot more, then kind of screwed yourself over, really. Because
Yeah, well, that became a thing with our game, was that you always knew if somebody was trying to con you into thinking they were lying, because they'd pay you 1 gold. It's like, oh no, you'll have this through, here's 1 gold. Oh no, it's all truthful then, it's fine. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
I found Brian was throwing money at me at one point.
Yes, you were maliciously stroking his face with his bag, though.
Yes, you rubbed your velvet sack over my face.
Yeah.
And asked me if I thought you were an idiot. You went into full tyrannous.
I did. I forgot about that.
Alan Rickman as the Sheriff of Nottingham mode.
Yes, I did.
I felt quite small and worthless at that point, as you were just sort of tapping me round the face.
That was yes. I wasn't stroking him. I was just repeatedly slapping him with the bag, going, "What's in here? What's in here? Tell me now." It was fun. Try it.
I cannot recommend that you sack your friends' faces.
I can, it was hilarious as a bystander.
It was really odd, actually. I was really quite confused.
It was quite odd, but I got all the money. I believe I won that game.
You did,
so it paid off in the end.
Yes.
Actually, no, James won that game.
Oh yes, but James was.
Hi, James.
James was even weirder than I was.
Yeah, we decided what would be quite fun for this game, because you don't have to bother role playing or anything with this, but each of your character cards has
a picture of a person
on it, who distinctly seems to be focused on a particular, they're a cheese merchant, or because they've got a big nose, which
game
seems
hunter,
ridiculous.
or
yeah.
And
the baker. I was the baker last time because someone else took the lady.
Yes.
Whose dress I appear to be wearing in this cartoon, Colin.
Of course.
James really took to his character and became.
He came up with a backstory about his family that was both funny and disturbing at the same time. The more details we got of his home life, the worse it got, and I was almost just letting him through because I didn't want him to talk to me.
Yeah,
which is a valid tactic, I suppose.
I genuinely felt like we were playing with the Marquis de Sade for half of it. It was scary.
Yeah,
quite creepy.
It did become quite dark.
Yeah, but you don't have to. You can just look at each other and lie and enjoy the game that way. And the fun, of course, is trying to puzzle out if your friends are trying to lie to you. It was quite interesting to see people playing it who are in a relationship.
Oh God, yeah, that ends violently.
Because realising that your other half is a really, really good liar, and can really, really fool you,
makes you both proud and disgusted at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, I was a little scared at a couple of points that I wouldn't actually be getting home.
Yeah, your threats were quite personal towards you. Yeah. It was, if you're lying to me, you can walk home. And Aaron lives in a windmill in the country. Just a moment to remind you of the Death Squad challenge. Please let us know if you've worked out where we are. So yes, Sheriff of Nottingham, great game.
Yeah.
A little bit tricky to get your head round to start with. I would recommend playing just a practice round.
Oh, yeah,
just to get your head round what's going on before you play a full game. Especially if we were to introduce new players, we introduced a couple new players on Saturday. I'd have given them each a go being the sheriff and not the sheriff, and just played sort of a practice go first before we played properly.
And you'd have been a fool
Yeah.
Because the very first thing they
Oh,
did
yeah.
was, I was the sheriff for the first game, and I was like, they all basically said, I'm not going to bother lying, I just want to see how this works, sort of thing. And I went, yeah, fair enough. They're just getting a grasp of the game mechanics. And they all lied to me. And I genuinely believed all of them because the conviction was really honest.
That's
They
a
just
good
went,
point, actually.
I know, it's a lie, it's fine.
Because you're a nice person, Aaron, and the rest of us would have gone, give us all your
I think
money.
it was because one of the
Yeah.
players kept claiming that they didn't know how the game worked, but maybe that was part of her evil plan.
It definitely seemed to be
Okay.
personal guilt.
Ignore that then, just let people have a go.
Yeah. Don't give them a chance. It's not safe.
But there was one person that you disbelieved in that first round, wasn't there, Aaron?
Yes.
The malicious smuggler of 4 perfectly legal cheeses. What was your fine?
Cheese is never
What was your
legal.
fine, Aaron?
No, it was.
8 delicious gold.
It was, right at the start. I was like, buy shiny coins.
You only start with 50s. You've essentially given away a fifth of your points to start the game, which was great.
Yeah.
For I did benefit muchly. So I mean, Sheriff of Nottingham. It's one of the Dice Tower essentials, isn't it?
Yeah, I did see it on
a
there.
game they've championed. That's where I first became aware of it, but I've heard it mentioned in other places.
Yeah.
It is held in high esteem, and rightly so.
Yeah.
We've had some great times playing that. Medieval smuggling simulator.
Yeah. Medieval cheese smuggling simulator.
Yeah. You can smuggle other things.
But cheese smuggling simulator.
Smuggling the chickens is difficult, I found.
I really fancied some cheese after we played it, actually.
Yeah.
If you want to really get into the mood, have a banquet of chicken, apples, cheese and bread.
Yeah.
Some kind of ploughmans to accompany your game of Sheriff of Nottingham. Or you could go the whole hog and actually have a real sack and put real chickens, real cheese, real bread in there and try to pass it off. Wasn't it you, Colin, who was listening to my bag because you didn't think it sounded like chickens?
Oh, yeah. I may have gone a bit weird that evening. Yeah, not only was I slapping you in the face with your own bag, I was put the bag to my ear in the hopes I could hear the
Clucking of the chickens.
which
are cards.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure. I think I had one too many energy drinks that night.
Yes. I enjoyed myself heartily. Though.
Yes,
Yeah, thoroughly.
But actually, the very first time we played it, we didn't do any of that. We just kind of played it quite straight. It was more...
Oh, I wasn't there for that game.
because we don't love you.
No. You like introducing to me the games afterwards where...
Oh, we like to
I look
master them
foolish
first.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is we normally have a gaming night. We might share, we might cut this out. People might not be interested, but we have a gaming night every week where we aim to role play and play a tabletop RPG. We've been playing Mutant, but when people are missing, when people can't do that, then we tend to pull out the board games.
Yes.
Then we do have other nights and other times, like we played at the weekend. We actually played role play one day and board games the next, like some kind of decadent French nobleman in the 17th
really
century,
did.
while peasants were farming the fields on our behalf. We were quaffing the finest energy drinks and amusing ourselves. So bourgeoisie. So yeah, I mean, I heartily recommend that. It's not. I don't think it's particularly pricey, but we've about 30 quid.
Yeah, I can have a look, or I can we'll post a link up. A link up to it just so you got off.
Yeah, well, we should maybe link across to every game that we've done.
Yeah,
so you
that's a
can,
good
you can
idea.
see.
That seems fair.
The third, then, in our trifecta of Skulduggerous games. That's a nice phrase. The trifecta of Skulduggerous games. Resistance.
Oh,
Argument.
Resistance, how to lose your friends in under an hour.
Yes, we've been calling that game The Argument in a Box for about 18 months now.
Yeah.
That's because it hasn't stopped being an argument.
No. And we have played lots of it quite close together. We've had gaps and we've returned to it. And each and every time it's not failed to cause all kinds of strife and trouble. But in the best possible way, I think. I enjoyed the time playing it, but also it's very, very mean and horrible.
Yeah, you need to make sure that you're a good group words. You are a good group of friends. I wouldn't play it with anybody you've only just met. It would...
No, lies,
we've
definitely.
We've done that.
Oh, really?
Yes. We had a special over Christmas gathering.
You weren't invited because we don't love you.
Oh.
Again, anyone who wants to apply to be my friend,
send in a picture holding the love you will give Colin. No, you were working.
Yeah.
Probably tends to be.
So we had a gathering around my house, and I invited some of my friends who are gamers, but not like really strong. They're more sort of into video games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they're interested in that kind of thing. So we thought we'd introduce them to Resistance, which after we described to you, we realised might have been a foolish thing and may never have saw them again.
Yes,
especially. Well, I'll let you.
Well, should I explain what happened after I've explained what the game? Because it's even meaner if you know what on earth we're talking about.
Yes.
So in Resistance, you sit round the table or sit round the living room. You are all dealt a card. If you have a blue card, you are a brave, loyal member of the Resistance, battling to overthrow a tyrannous government of the near future. Your job is to go on missions.
I like as a very quick note, as rebels, you still have jobs. That's not anarchy.
No, it's a very respectable British revolution. With tea ladies and slices of cake. So yes, your job is to, or rather, I could say your mission is to go on missions.
Right.
Your mission is via undertaking operations. No, so that sounds really terrible. Your job is to go on missions. There are to go on missions to try to overthrow the terrible government,
Which is only trying to make you have a job.
You always side with the bad guys. I think you might actually genuinely be a bad guy. So what you do each round, a certain number of the players will go on the mission. Each round, one person is the group leader. They decide who goes, but then because this is the Resistance and it's democratic and a very nice organisation, you have to vote. So you need a majority vote to send those people on the mission. Once you've voted and decided who's going, those people get a card that says fail and a card that says succeed. They secretly put one back into the mission and discard the other one, and you kind of shuffle them back together later so you don't know who did what. They're then shuffled as well, so you don't know which card belongs to which player, and they are revealed. Now, why would you need a fail card, you ask? And I hear you. I will explain now. Some of the players, at least two of the players, depending on, you can play 5 to 10 players.
Yeah. Is it two or one?
It's two.
Is it at least two?
At least two. Always at least two.
Yeah. Impossible otherwise.
At the very start of the game, you might get a red card instead of a blue card, and that reveals you to be a member of the government, an infiltrator to the Resistance. And your job is to bring the Resistance down from the inside. Everyone closes their eyes at the beginning. Then the traitors, the spies, as they're called, look up, find out who their teammates are, look back down, and then everyone starts the game.
Yeah.
So there are always going to be people that are on the other side, people that might potentially put a fail card into the MIPS, and you only need one fail card to fail the whole mission.
Yeah.
So by the end of the game, you need to have worked out as the Resistance exactly who all of the spies are, because you will need everyone else to go on the last mission. And it nearly always comes down to the last mission.
Yeah.
It's best of 5. It nearly always comes down to it. The game is masterfully balanced in that way.
Isn't it 5 missions, 3 missions to win it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 5 missions, but first to 3.
First to
And
3.
it nearly always goes 2 to 2. There's always 5 missions, but the number of spies, the number of people being sent on the missions change as you go through. But it's always 5 missions.
Yeah.
Now, it's customary. We're playing a smallish game. The very first mission for most of those is just 2 people being sent on the mission.
Yes.
And it's customary for, if a spy is selected accidentally, for them to just put in a pass to try and gain good favour, to gain goodwill, to try to convince people that actually no, they're not the spy, because they've got other chances along the way. However, when I played at Christmas round Aaron's, I was paired up for the mission by the lovely chap who was sat next to me, who actually chose me for the mission.
Yeah. Oh, that poor bugger.
Yes. Yeah. He went, I think he was trying to be friendly. He said, you can come on the mission with me. So I went, okay, that's great. Yeah. And I put in, I was the spy. He definitely wasn't the spy. And I put in a fail. And I then convinced the entire group that the other person was the spy.
Because he wouldn't be silly enough to do that.
Yeah, because we've all played it before.
I said
you wouldn't dare put a fail in on the first mission because you've obviously given yourself away quite quickly.
It's one of the most horrible things I've done in gaming, and if I went back in time, I probably wouldn't have done it. However, that person, although they looked for most of the game like they wanted to throttle me, and actually at one point was shouting, "He's the spy, not me!" at everyone. Looked quite angry. I got a little bit worried. But as soon as the game was over, it was fine.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing, you get very into the game as it's happening, or trying to work out who's who. Yeah. But generally, once it's done, it's quite fun. You reveal, once one side wins or loses, you reveal who everyone is. You discuss the game afterwards. I remember when you said this, I thought it was you. I had no idea it was you. It generates that conversation.
It can be quite tense at the time, and then afterwards quite funny when you go, that bugger fooled me. That was quite clever of him.
When I think it was the game after that one, on that same evening, I pretended to have... there's an expansion you can get for it. That gives you special cards that give you special abilities.
Yes, that comes in the main box now.
Yes? Yeah. Okay. One of them of which is to look at the character card of the person sitting next to you. My wife got it, looked at me, found I was a spy. So I had an argument with her about how she was trying to blame me for being a spy because she'd seen my card and knew I wasn't. So it's like she must be a spy. I pretended to have a full-blown argument with her. And sulked in the corner, and I actually had one of her other friends come to me afterwards and went, I honestly thought we were having an argument. I felt really uncomfortable. And I went, good, that was the plan.
Yes, I mean it's great. You start to really sort of... I love being the spy because you really get stuck into that being skullduggerous kind of feel. Although it makes you very aware of everything you're doing. You're wondering what your body language is doing. You're wondering what you're doing with your voice. Are you talking too much? Are you talking not enough? Once you've played a few times, you start thinking, well, I'm going to be the spy at some point. So you kind of start to memorise your own normal patterns when you're not the spy.
I actually found that when I became, after a few games of being a spy and getting used to lying, because I wasn't very good at it when I started.
When we say Aaron wasn't very good at lying, I would very much like to clarify this. Imagine we're playing the game now. I would go, I think Aaron's the spy. Aaron would giggle or sit there and pause for 5 minutes. 5 minutes of silence, insert here. Followed by... No, it's not me. Well done, Aaron. That's giving it away.
I used to win poker games, you know. But yeah, I got so used to people. So used to mimicking how I was when I was not a spy because I was terrible at faking it, so I had to learn quite quickly. That when I came back to being the Resistance member, I became very self-conscious and started looking like I was pretending to be a spy because I was trying not to desperately. Oh, it gets really hard. It's great because of it.
You guys told me my tell. You told me that I talk too much when I'm a spy because I try to manipulate. Yeah, and I move about. So I don't do that anymore.
You lean closer and closer to the rest of the group, bouncing enthusiastically as you do.
So I feel I've actually learned something about my own tells, my own way of going about being deceptive, which might be something you need for future. Like, put it on your CV.
I'm slightly unsure about mine because when I am the spy, I tend to use reason and logic. When I'm not the spy, I go, I'm not the spy, therefore it doesn't matter. You're one of you, I'm just going to be silly. But when I am the spy, I use reason and logic. The problem is that every time I've used reason and logic, everyone's gone, he's using reason and logic, he's spying. And then I use reason and logic against them, and then everybody believes me.
I've just gone slightly cross-eyed. We do have one friend who it is traditional for us to just accuse of being the spy and refuse to take on any missions. And he did refuse to play with us at one point. We realised we may have taken the joke a little bit too far.
No. It wasn't a joke when I started doing it. I genuinely felt him move when he opened his eyes to look up at other people.
And he was the spy.
Yeah, so I called him out on it. I went, I felt that. You're the spy.
Yeah.
And he got really angry.
He did get really
that's
angry.
His defence mechanism. We've worked... See, this is the thing, is that I reckon I could tell if he's lying, because if I called him on it, if I said you're lying and he's not, he'd be sort of indignant and a bit hurt.
Yeah.
If he was lying, he'd be indignant and angry.
Yeah.
C-word angry. Like proper shouting flecks of spittle angry. Which is fine within the context of the game. Because we know that everything we're doing is...
I giggle when I'm not lying.
Yeah, because you get really self-conscious.
I don't know why, but are you the spy? No, I'm not. Yeah. Oh, well, that was great. I just convinced everybody.
And playing Resistance quite a bit was what made me good enough to lie to everyone in dead of winter.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got better at medieval smuggling as well since you told me that.
Yeah.
Yes, you
Yeah.
have.
Not quite. There's still other tales, but I'm not telling you what they are.
Oh no.
But the very
Yeah, it says the man who believed my 4 cheese ruse.
I did, yeah. But
That sounds like a pizza.
I called you out on your triple bluff later on,
Yes, you
where
did.
you tried to get me to open your again.
Even a blind
legitimate-
squirrel finds a nut every now and again.
I was so far down the rabbit hole of bluffing and lying. It was like Inception. I didn't know what was a lie and what wasn't. And I think I may have convinced myself that I was lying when I wasn't, or vice versa. It's all a bit of a blur.
I think I have done that in a game of Resistance before, and actually managed to convince myself that I'm not the spy, and then looked at my card and gone, "Oh, I really should have failed that." Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great game. It's almost as simple. In fact, it's even more simple than Sheriff of Nottingham. It's much easier to introduce people
Yes.
to.
Yeah.
And would be even better for people that maybe are brand new to modern board games, may have only played Monopoly and Game of Life and
Yeah.
Kaplunk, other things.
Poker players, I imagine, will be massively into it because it's poker
Yes.
confined down
It
to
is.
the
It is
basic
poker
premise.
with guns.
The only thing it does need is it does need you to be able to, because you've got to question each other. You've got to, it forces some of that with the voting system.
Yeah.
If you just played it and didn't interrogate each other and just sat there in silence voting away, it'd be very odd.
It wouldn't work. For
Wouldn't work.
No,
So
no.
it thrives on the interaction between the players, the accusations, the counter accusations. We always have, you seem a bit shifty. That's the kind of thing a spy would say. Well, that's the kind of thing a spy would say as well. And we end up again so far down the rabbit hole of
Yeah.
counter accusations.
Yeah.
And we start having to meta it at one point. It was like, what colour's your card?
Yeah.
God, I don't know.
Yeah.
I am the Resistance. I can't remember what colour my card is.
Yeah, and now everyone thinks I'm a spy.
Yeah.
No one loves me.
He's wearing glasses. He must be the spy. Yeah.
One of the other great thing, the thing I like about it is that you can paralyse the resistance via democracy. So they can only vote a certain number of times on who's going to be in the mission before the entire exercise falls apart in being unable to do what it needs to do. They run out of time. The mission, the whole endeavour completely fails. So if the spies can paralyse the resistance often enough, well, actually just once, but often enough times all the way through the different leaders trying to get a team together, they can win that way as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes you might be disruptive, but obviously if look like you're being deliberately disruptive with your voting tactics,
It's a very easy tell.
Yeah.
So it might be a case that if Colin and I were the spies and Aaron included Colin and not me, I might let that go because I know that there's a spy in there.
Yeah.
What is quite good, if you manage to get more than one spy on the same mission,
Yes.
you then have the scrunchy eyebrow insinuation dance where you try to communicate to the other spy in front of everyone, because there's no way you can talk separately, which one of you puts a fail in and which one of you puts a succeed. Because if you've got 3 people going on a mission and 2 people put fails, it's much more, you know that there's definitely 2 people in there. It becomes much easier for the resistance to ferret out what's going on. So you'll often hear me say, well, I'm not going to fail this mission because I'm a member of the resistance, trying to communicate with the other person.
I was going to say it was how it worked when me and one of our friends was doing it, and he sat next to me and went, yeah, well, we don't want to fail this mission, do we? He sort of looked over at me and glared very subtly, so the rest of you hadn't noticed it. Don't want to fail this. And he repeated it 3 times, but over the course of several different sentences.
But he said we, so I'd be worried that which one of us was going to... What?
I knew what he was going. I knew what he was implying. He was meant me when he said we.
Yeah.
But I did the...
Yeah, so you've got this kind of... Sometimes
Trying
there's
to
more going on.
communicate,
And as a member of the resistance, it might sound like the spies get all the fun, but as a member of the resistance, trying to work out what's going on, who you can trust, who you can't trust, is very fun. And you should be engaged the entire time through, because always someone's talking, always someone's doing something. You want to know the outcome of all the missions, but also you need to listen to what everyone's saying, look at what everyone's doing. If you drift off and start playing on your phone, well, you look very suspicious anyway, which you may or may not want, but also you might miss some of the table talk, if you like.
As I recall, we actually had a game where 3 of us all Resistance members were arguing about who the spies were, and the two spies who actually happened to be sitting next to one another then conferred and worked out their entire plan while we were just screaming at one another because we weren't actually paying attention to the other two team members who were both the spies.
Yeah. We did have that one game where there were 5 of us, 2 spies, 3 Resistance members, and it started with one of the Resistance members voted in 2 of the Resistance.
Yeah.
So succeeded the mission. The second Resistance member picked the 3 of them. It succeeded. The third one did the same team and it succeeded, and the spies didn't even get a go. But I think that's more of a fluke. That's only happened once in about 20 games.
And I doubt it's going to happen anytime soon.
No.
That was very much pure fluke.
Yeah, we had everyone sat in the right order, and
which again, that's also rare. And they just didn't speak up quite enough about.
Yeah,
I mean,
weird.
I do feel sorry for them because there was absolutely nothing they could say because we went, well, you. Anyone disagree? And they can't really disagree because if they did,
it's majority. Yeah, it's democracy. Someone's always.
If they did, it would confirm they were the spies. It was like, I was waiting for it to fail. It's going to fail in a minute, and it didn't. I was like, oh, that was.
Yeah, because you tend to concede one of the missions to try and figure out who might be.
Yeah,
I
at least
suspect that person might be, so I'm going to put them in, and then if it fails, I know that's confirming it.
Yeah, I mean, I think in most games we've played, 2 of the missions have failed. We've had 2 wins, 2 losses, and it always comes down to the final game as to who's going to actually win.
Yeah,
this.
it's very nicely balanced because you've got smaller missions where the good guys are more likely to succeed, or the spies are less likely to mess with it because it becomes more obvious.
Yeah.
So, especially in the very small games, the 5 or 6 player, there's only 2 of you. The other person is going to know that you are a spy. You have to really brazen that out.
Yeah.
Which is why I did it to your friend who'd never played before. Because if I'd done it to one of the more established players, I don't think I'd have been able to keep it up.
No, laughed in your face.
Yeah. But actually, there was a baptism of fire.
It was, yeah. But
it was.
He wants to play it again. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
We'll judge it by that.
Yeah.
We might have broken him as a human being, but he wants to play again.
You notice that he'll never sit in the same room as me on his own. Last time we were around, every time it was just the 2 of us, he'd look away and walk out. It's alright, I followed him.
That's
good toilet technique.
I find the same thing with you, though, Brian, to be honest. If we're ever alone in a room, just get up and leave.
This whole podcast is me doing 3 different voices. None of the rest of you are real.
How is that a lie?
That means he pretends to be another person and then gave them all the credit for doing all the work. Your ego's really broken. Bless you.
Yeah, not only
I just need a hug.
If you'd like to hug Brian, or one of his personifications, please write to us, showing how wide your arms could be for that hug.
Include a detailed pamphlet on your hugging technique. Are you a hugger from behind? For I will not be the little spoon.
Oh dear. So yes, recommend.
Oh, I love Resistance. The only problem I've got with Resistance at the moment is that the cards are starting to become a bit dog-eared because we've played them quite a bit.
Yes, my wife did sit on one of them.
It's fine. It's actually, now the rest of the cards have become dog-eared, that one is less obvious. But I'm just going to sleeve them.
Yeah.
Otherwise you'll start going, well, I know that spy card has a tiny tear in the top right corner, and you don't want that. You want to maintain that
secrecy.
Critical Twits top tip. Oh, I ruined it.
Critical tips top twit. That's all right.
Tips for twits and crits.
Try to say Critical Twits top Twitter tip.
Oh my god, that actually hurt my ears.
It's good. It's too much alliteration.
Oh.
Verily, you may have too much alliteration. No. So yes, a Critical Twits top tip.
Yeah.
You sound like an idiot. Spot sat on the mat. See Spot run. Pound wrong, Colin. Yes, excellent. Well, that's board games covered. Yeah.
Alert! An intruder has been detected. Alert! The barrier has been breached.
Okay, we better go investigate this. Bear with us, listeners. We'll be back soon. We've dealt with the intruder.